Hello everyone, I hope you're doing alright. Today we're talking about the Sharpshooter Gunslinger, a class that I love and have been playing for 10 years, even though it's in kind of a bad spot right now. Brief disclaimer as usual, I actually am kind of an expert in this spec, I've been playing it for 10 years, but if there's anything that I missed over the course of the next 10 minutes of talking, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I'm sure your fellow players will appreciate it. Alright, tertiary stats. Accuracy in PvE, 110% every single time. Accuracy in PvP, though, go for like 105% accuracy. We do a lot of wide damage in this spec. Alacrity, 7.2% alacrity. That should be ready to rock and roll. And then throw everything else into crit. Then we should be ready to do some big boy damage. For our tactical, we have a couple of options here. Agitating Energies is your sustained damage tactical. It's like single target. Agitating Energies will make your vital shot essentially tick every single time we do either a trick shot or a penetrating rounds. It keeps it on the target. It's a lot of free damage. We love to see it. For AoE fluff, take refraction point. It's going to make your penetrating rounds do a bunch of AoE damage. It's pretty darn nice. And then if you want to meme a whole bunch, take B0 differential targeting system. It makes your aim shot do a whole bunch of damage. It's pretty darn nice. But it's really like a PvP meme more than anything else. For your legendaries, locked and loaded package is just free 5% extra damage. It's free damage. Love to see it. And then finally, the most important one is going to be your energy regulators package. This is going to restore 1 energy while in cover. It is kind of important that you get this one. This spec is kind of botched without it, so just take energy regulators. It's kind of the best. For our combat style, Relentless Shots is great for like sustained damage. It helps with our energy management. But if you want to be AoE fluffing, you can totally take Sharp Shot, especially if you're using B0 differential targeting. It's like free AoE fluff. You'll love to see it. Moving the line here, Flourish Blast is great for PvE. It applies a debuff to the target called Trauma, making it take less healing, and it just does more damage with a charge burst. So it's pretty nice in PvE. In PvP, though, both below the belt and dodge dance are also viable, so kind of pick your poison here. Moving the line, if you have the energy regulators or legendary, then you should take energy barrels. It's going to make your penetrating rounds do a whole bunch of extra damage. If you don't have that legendary yet, though, if you're still working towards it, you should probably take either Lucky Draw or Piercing Rounds. Piercing Rounds is more like a PvP tactical or a PvP utility. Lucky Draw is more like sustained damage. So pick your poison, but the default is going to be energy barrels. Wow, I can't read apparently. Moving on here, Lucky Thoughts is going to give you a lot more Smuggler's Luck. It's free crits for aim shots. It's pretty darn nice. Moving the line, Ballistic Dampeners is great for some defensive ability. It's not great, not terrible. It beats a poke in the eye, especially in a class as squishy as we are right now. Efficient Ammo is great if there's ever any AoE. If there's no AoE whatsoever, a purely single target fight, you can take either Perfect Scheme or Reset Engagement. They're both like C tier utilities. They can be useful though if you don't have any AoE to fluff on with Efficient Ammo. All three of these options are perfectly acceptable here at level 68. Scrambling Field is kind of the default here. It's a defensive for both yourself and your entire team. It's pretty darn nice. However, in PvP, I often take Hideout for the little extra mobility. And if I'm purely fluffing Parse, I open with a bombing run whenever I'm pulling. It's just straight Parse fluffer. So they all have their uses. Personally, though, I default back to Scrambling Field. And then finally, all these options are kind of garbage. Hotwire Defenses is like just kind of the most useful one where it improves our defensive screen. It's okay. Not great, not terrible. Hot Pursuit if you need to do damage on the move. And Heads Up, especially in like ranked PvP when you need to be moving a lot. Heads Up is pretty nice. They're all kind of bad, I'll be honest with you. So I just kind of default back to Hotwire Defenses. But this is all boring. Let's talk about actually doing damage. The first ability we're going to talk about is going to be our Set It and Forget It ability with Vital Shot. Vital Shot does a couple of things. For one, it will mark the target, meaning that all range attacks will do more damage, which is pretty darn nice. It's also going to do some damage over time. It does like 28,000 damage. Not great, not terrible. It's okay. It's okay. But if you remember, because of our tactical here, Agitating Energies, every time you use a trick shot and a penetrating rounds, the duration of the dot will be reset. So if you see here, I use the dot on the target. It's going to tick down. If I use my penetrating rounds here, boop, 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 it's going to tick all this extra damage and it's going to refresh the duration. Same if I use my trick shot here, boop, boop, it ticks that little extra bit of dot damage and it reticks our vital on the target. So it's an easy way to do a bunch of free extra damage. A lot of times I'll actually run this in like PvP too. I know like the differential targeting system is a huge meme in PvP, but this is a great way to get a whole bunch of sustained damage on the target because it's just essentially free extra damage. Love to see it. But that's kind of like boring. I want to make the big numbers happen. All right? Well, good. Because let's talk about our 4 primary damaging abilities here. You can play the entire spec with literally just these 4 buttons. Okay? The first is going to be our Charged Burst. Now, Charged Burst on its own does, it's okay amount of damage. Not great, not terrible. However, using it twice will do a couple of things for us. Any normal activation will enable this, but using it twice will give us an activation of our Trick Shot. Trick Shot is usable. It's pretty much our spam ability here. Anytime we use one of our primary damaging abilities, Trick Shot comes off a cooldown. So Charge Burst, if you use 2 Charge Bursts in a row, so 1, 2, we can then use a Trick Shot. Boop, pretty fantastic. So we can go, in theory, back to back, Charge Burst, Trick Shot, Charge Burst, Trick Shot, over and over and over again. The first thing you need to know, 2 Charge Bursts equals 1 Trick Shot. It's pretty nice. Additionally, every time you use a Charged Burst here, you're going to slowly build up these stacks of Charged Aim. Charged Aim is going to make your aim shot essentially cast faster because aim shot on its own has like a rather long cooldown. However, with these 2 stacks of Charged Aim, it's going to be reduced to like a 1.5 second cast. So you can see here without our stacks, aim shot takes like 1.8 seconds to cast. It's kind of sad. However, if we use our Charged Burst, back-to-back Charged Burst, I'm going to have to fluff here for 2 seconds. While this comes back off a cooldown, you can see we have our 2 stacks of Charged Aim. Now, if we use our aim shot, boop, it's like 1.4 seconds. So it's an easy way to get Charged Aims to go faster just by using 2 Charged Bursts in a row. So, one more time in case you missed it. 2 Charged Bursts equals 1 Trick Shot, and it makes your aim shot cast faster. Speaking of aim shot, it does a whole bunch of damage. Boop, you can see here, takes the target, does a whole bunch of extra damage, and it gives us a Trick Shot, which we can then use right afterwards. You're going to start to notice a pattern here of like, yes, 2 Charged Bursts gives me a Trick Shot. Whoa, crazy how that happens. And then an aim shot gives me a Trick Shot. Whoa, crazy how that happens. There's not much more to know about aim shot. It just does a whole bunch of damage. All right. And finally, we have our Penetrating Rounds. Penetrating Rounds does like 45k over the course of the 2-second cast. That's a lot of damage very quickly, and it triggers our Vital Shot. So if you see here, we hit the target, boop, 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 boop. It explodes for a whole bunch of damage, and it triggers a Trick Shot. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So what that means is we can go like Charge Burst, Trick Shot, and then Aim Shot, and then Trick Shot, and then Penetrating Rounds, and then Trick Shot. And then start from the beginning of Charge Burst, Trick Shot, and then like Aim Shot, crazy, I know, right? Trick Shot, and then Penetrating Rounds, and then Trick Shot, back and forth over and over and over again, 24/7. This is the entire rotation for you Sharpshooter players. You start from the beginning of Charge Burst, Trick Shot, Aim Shot, Trick Shot, Penetrating Rounds, Trick Shot, and literally just restart from the beginning and do that over and over and over again until your fingers bleed. It's pretty straightforward, I'll be honest with you. You just literally hit these buttons back and forth over and over and over again, and then you should be ready to rock and roll. That's the entire rotation. Just Charge Burst, Trick Shot, Aim Shot, Trick Shot, and then Penetrating Rounds, Trick Shot, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then you should be ready to rock and roll. Let's talk very quickly about some extra abilities here. The first is going to be our Smuggler's Luck. Smuggler's Luck makes your next aim shot critically hit every single time. So this ability that already hits like a truck will automatically crit every time you use a Smuggler's Luck. So for example, if I use a Smuggler's Luck now, boop, it's going to do boop, boop, a whole bunch of damage, like 50k damage right off the bat. It's a whole lot of damage, okay? All right. The second ability here that we need to talk about is our Burst Volley. Burst Volley will instantly reset your Penetrating Rounds. So what you can do is, say you have your vital shot on the target, you go penetrating rounds into trick shot, and then your burst volley into penetrating rounds into trick shot. That's like 130, 140,000 damage you just pulled off back to back because you went penetrating rounds right into your burst volley, which resets your penetrating rounds, which you can then use right away. It also gives you a little bit of energy every second, which is pretty nice, especially in this spec, and it gives you a little bit of alacrity. So it's pretty darn nice. Okay, so one more time for those of you who weren't paying attention, I'm going to give this dummy a little bit of health here, and then we'll talk about some other things in the process. For example, a quick opener would look something like opening up with an aim shot, because we want to be getting this extra stack of relentless shots up right away. Additionally, just opening up with an aim shot gives you a whole bunch of damage. You can open up with a smuggler's luck as well, and it gives your tanks like a half a second to start generating threat. So let's begin. We're going to open up with an aim shot, a crit, and then apply our vital shots, and then begin our rotation here. So we're going to do all this extra damage. Cool, love it, love it, love it. We have our burst volley available. Go, 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 go. Now start from the beginning. Charge burst, trick shot, aim shot, trick shot, penetrator rounds, trick shot, and then just do that over and over and over again until your fingers bleed. You're going to notice that as we cast here, because of the utilities we take, our smuggler's luck is going to be coming back pretty quickly, actually. I believe it's every time that we crit with this spec, we get some time taken off of our smuggler's luck here. So every time you crit, you get more smuggler's luck back. That's really all you need to know. So it's not really like a 55-second cooldown. It can be more like a 30-second cooldown. If you can nail down this rotation, like, you're going to be fine in this spec. I promise you. Literally just fundamentally understand the idea of 2 charge bursts equals 1 trick shot, 1 aim shot equals 1 trick shot, and then penetrating rounds equals 1 trick shot, and you should be ready to rock and roll. Now there is a final ability here that we haven't talked yet in the form of our quick draw. Now quick draw does more damage than our charge burst does, and it causes a trick shot to become available. So what that means is that when we get below 30% health, it's only usable on targets below 30% health, okay? So when we get below 30% health, this is actually going to change our rotation ever so slightly, all right? So we're going to go through our little rotation here. Now we're going to go penetrating rounds. Whoa, charge burst, trick shot. So we're using our trick shot from actually our penetrating rounds. Then we use our quick draw, trick shot, and then we use a little bit of a hard casted aim shot here. And then we begin again. So I'm going to say that one more time. Penetrating rounds into charge burst, and then trick shot, then quick draw, quick shot, then hard casted long aim shot, and begin again. So penetrating rounds, charge burst, quick shot, quick draw, quick shot, aim shot, quick shot. That's really all you need to know about burn phase. If you want to do it the dummy way, you can just go charge burst, quick shot, trick shot. So essentially, you just going to let me say that one more time. If you want to do it the dummy way and not deal with the whole like execute kerfuffle, you can totally use just charge burst, quick draw, trick shot, and just essentially replace your second charge burst with a trick shot. Your second charge burst with a quick draw in the rotation. That way you don't mess it up too much. It's totally up to you. Frankly, you can kind of just ignore quick draw. Like, it doesn't do that much damage more, I'll be honest with you. It's kind of unimpressive. So if you want to totally ignore quick draw, you can, or use it to replace your second charge burst, or do the funky penetrating rounds, 1 charge burst, trick shot, quick draw, trick shot. It's kind of up to you. You don't really have to know one way or the other, I'll be honest with you. Just like hit it sometimes. That's all you need to know. All right, let's quickly talk about our defensive cooldowns. We don't have that many of them. The first is going to be our defense screen. Defense screen absorbs like 40,000 damage. It's not that impressive, I'll be honest with you. Kind of is what it is. It absorbs 40,000 damage, has a 25-second cooldown. Good luck. Good luck. Our second defensive cooldown is our Hunker Down. Hunker Down, when you hit it, it applies this little Hunker Down animation to you, which means that you can no longer be stunned, which is very, very nice. Additionally, it reduces your damage taken from AoE abilities by like 60%. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice, especially if you're like sitting in AoE that you shouldn't be sitting in. You should probably use Hunker Down. Additionally, we have this ability here called Diversion. Diversion is an AoE that you throw on a target. Boop. What this does is it reduces the target's accuracy by 45%. Now, this doesn't affect bosses, sadly, so you can't like help out your raid team. However, if you're in like a flashpoint or you're being pulled by a bunch of mobs, you can just use it on them, and then they won't do as much damage to you. Additionally, if you throw this on an enemy sniper or an enemy gunslinger, it'll pop them out of cover, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice. Speaking of cover, we have this ability here called Crouch. Crouch replaces the seek cover mechanic. If you go into your abilities and search for Crouch, you find it, throw it down, boop, boop. Use this instead of the seek cover mechanic. The seek cover mechanic is kind of garbage. Just straight up, it's bad. It's bad. It's going to put you in fire. So don't use seek cover, use Crouch. It's more important. Finally, we have our Bag of Tricks. Bag of Tricks is going to immediately finish the cooldown of Surrender, a defensive screen, of Pulse Detonator, and of Hunker Down. Essentially, it resets a bunch of your cooldowns. So if you run out of cooldowns, use this. It's pretty darn nice. And then we have our Pulse Detonator, which is our big knockback ability. It just knocks players away. It's nice, especially if you have like a melee on you. It's a good time. If you run into any energy issues with this spec, you do have Cool Head, but frankly, with the Regulators package here, you don't really run into a lot of energy issues. But if you end up, in an energy situation, you can always use Cool Head. Let's briefly talk about AoE because it's like dummy easy. All right, Sweeping Gunfire. If you ever see AoE, just like hit this button, and then just like do it again. And then just like do it again. All right? And do that over and over and over again until everything's dead. You do have the option here of switching to like Refraction Point, which is going to make your penetrating rounds do splash damage, which is like a whole bunch of AoE damage if you can get it to go off. But if it doesn't go off, you can always resort to the massive Sweeping Gunfire. That's kind of it. Yeah. Feels good. Feels good. Have any questions? Leave them down in the comments below. I'm sure your fellow players would appreciate it. Yeah, that's all I got. Hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Like and comment and subscribe, or don't. I'm not your mom. You do what you want. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.